In this video, we'll start to explore materials. I'd like to start working with materials in my model. There's so many ways that you can do that. We'll explore just a few of them. We'll start with adding a surface pattern for our roof shingles. The easiest way I find to do that is to click on the roof and go to Edit Type. This will ensure you're working with the exact material that you'd like. Under the Structure tab, you can say Edit and find the material being used for the finished layer. I can click the three dots and my material browser will pop up. Because we're working on our exterior elevations, we want to make sure we have a pattern for our shingles in the 2D. For this, I'll find the Graphics tab. I can find Surface Pattern and click on the box that says None. Another dialog box will open up for us. In this case, it'll be for our different pattern options. Notice at the top here, there are two types of patterns. The first that it will go for is a drafting pattern. I'll search for shingle and say OK to apply the pattern. I'll then OK through the rest of the dialog boxes. Notice now I have a surface pattern applied to my roof. This is a drafting pattern. The drafting pattern means the density of my pattern is based on the view that I'm in. As I zoom in and out, the pattern scale will remain the same. For my deck pattern, this pattern is a model pattern. In this case, it's representing 2x6 boards. I can click on the floor and say Edit Type, find the material, and confirm we have a model pattern using a 6-inch parallel. That means I can actually take my scale out and measure it. I'd like a bit of an accent on my front gable. From the Modify tab, I can find the Split Face tool. Alternatively, the hotkey is SF. I can click on the wall and my draw panel is activated. It wants me to define a boundary that I'm going to split in order to apply the material. This line is a bit tricky to draw, so you might want to zoom in. Your end points will need to be exactly on the edge of the sloping side, but Revit will give you an error if you overlap the bottom one. I'll get as close as I can and click to start my line. I'll zoom out and click the other corner. I'll hit Escape to get out of the tool and my green check mark to create the boundary. You'll notice not much has changed. That's because we just split the face of the wall. We now need to paint a material. From the Modify tab, you can find the paint icon. Alternatively, the hotkey is PT. In the material browser that shows up, I'll search for wood shakes. I'll click the material and then the face that I'd like it to be applied to. I'll hit Escape to get out of the tool. Another way to apply materials to your model in more of a global way is to go to the Manage tab. You can find Object Styles. I'll search for fascia. Notice the current material is set to default roof. I'll change that by clicking the three dots next to default roof. I'll choose any material I like and hit OK. Now for my entire project, all roof fascia have been defined to have the trim material. I'll say OK. Notice the change is reflected in my 3D model. I'll repeat that to change any of the additional materials I like. A fun one to play with is gutters. I'll go to the Manage tab and find Object Styles and search for gutters. I'll then find the material column and choose the three dots and choose a material from the project browser to define as my gutter material. I'll say OK. One thing to note is all I'm changing right now are my 3D graphics. These are going to show up when I render it later. In the Object Styles menu, I could further adjust the line weights, line colors, and line patterns for any category in Revit. We'll stick with just the material for now. From the Manage tab, feel free to explore both materials and object styles as much as you'd like before moving on. In this video, we got started with materials. We looked at how to add a material surface pattern, the split face and paint tools. We also looked at that really powerful menu of project object styles. I hope this helps.